Yo, yo, hello. Hope everybody's doing well. Evening. It's Adam Steele from Hot Pole Studios here. I nearly said it's your boy, but that's not very me. I'm at home because, of course, it's lockdown. I have been at the studio today preparing for this big Celestian video, but I'm now at home with my old-fashioned, as things should be. Why on earth is the YouTube's trying to go at like 10 megabit when that's not a thing? Anyway, it doesn't particularly matter, I don't think. Let's tweak a little button and see if that doesn't fix things. Anyway, hello. Welcome. Hope you're all doing well. Tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be... No, that's the thing from Stars in Their Eyes. I have a new mix project on, and it's for a band called SkyeAsylum, and it's kind of big epic prog metal, and I've been sent all the stems, and so we're going to mix a song to sound absolutely fantastic. That's the goal. And there are a few things to look through, a few things to sort out and get a mix exactly as I would like it, and then organise it, and then later on we're going to start looking at mixing the drums, and then hopefully for the next session, this is going to be a multi-session thing. Then I'm going to look at the guitars, get the right tones, look at the vocals, all the extra orchestral stuff. So first, let's roll the intro. So everybody roll up. Hope you're doing well. Let's show you my screen. So this is my Reaper screen. I've already checked out the files for this, and so typically I forgot to hit save, which is actually a good thing because it means that I can do this whole thing again from the top. I say the whole thing. All I actually really did was drop in all of these files, which I'm going to, it's, the file tells me this is in 165 BPM, and it's been sent to me entirely as wave files. So I'm going to drop these at the start of bar 9, because that's a good habit to get into, is bar 5 or bar 9, or start your files if you're going to mix on a bar that is not bar 1, just in case you need to put something at the start, or there's an issue, or some plugins when you hit play they make a horrible kind of pop noise, and then you can render that out and get rid of it. So it's coming up saying insert on separate tracks or single track. If we did them as a single track, we'd end up with something horrible. So I'm going to hit separate tracks, and it's asking me about BPM because there's a number in the name. So I'm going to say ignore on that. There we go. Could not import. That's just the peak files which have already been made. So there we go. We have a large number of files here, which if I just take the mixer away and condense that down, you can see there's a lot going on here. So the very first thing I'm going to do is select every single track here, and then I'm going to unselect the overhead tracks and the room tracks for the drums, and I'm going to trim these down, and I'm going to do it by a magical process if you've not seen it before. So I'm going to go to actions and show the action list, and I can search for a little thing called auto trim split items removing silence. So if I double click that, it gives me some options. I usually go with this minus 90 dB threshold, which is practically silent, and I leave everything as is. I've put leading and trailing pads on so I don't get cuts. Everything fades in and fades out. Hello everybody, welcome to the chat. Welcome. Ariel says, I'm guessing most of those are orchestral parts. No, they're not. There are some orchestral parts in there, but no, this is what a regular band mix looks like. So if I hit process on this, it's going to take a few seconds. And there we go. That's more like it. So I can now clearly see the structure. Now, if I look at these, everything from 39 onwards is all vocals. There's a bass drop. I'm guessing there must be some sort of noise on this channel, because that was supposed to be trimmed at minus 90 dB, but I can just manually trim that one. There's a low synth and a regular synth and some strings. Those are your orchestral things right here. It looks again like the noise floor on these is a little high. Source properties tells me these are 24-bit files, but this noise floor suggests to me that at some point somebody tracked these on a 16-bit system, which is fine. I mean, a 16-bit system will usually give you 80-something decibels of noise floor, which, depending on what you're doing with something, isn't the worst. I mean, I've worked with far higher noise floors and been fine. You can see that that was teetering on the edge of a 90 dB on this synth here in terms of a noise floor. Personally, I would have digitally cleared that up, but it doesn't really matter. I'm mostly doing this for peace of mind and a visual clarity. By making sure everything's properly trimmed, I can see now, and I'm very quickly just right-click dragging boxes on all these extra little bits that I can see that are just little sputters of noise, and just hitting delete. And then I can see that there are electric guitars, there are a ton of heavy guitars, 2 tracks of bass, 20 tracks of drums, which sounds like a lot again, but it isn't. I can see how the toms have already manually been stripped, which is great, again, because that saves me a lot of time. And so there was a kick trigger there. Fantastic. So this is going to be incredibly loud. So what I'm going to have to do is turn this master down by 10 dB, just for now. Not a good practice to do, but this is just so we can hear it. And I'm going to play this back. Oh, there's on. Right, okay, so I'm going to take the volume back up. You could see the volume here peaked at -1, even when it was 10 dB down, which means this would be clipping the bus by a good 10 decibels, which is a huge amount. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Hope you're all doing well. Interesting to see what platforms you're all on. Yeah, okay, good stuff. YouTube. Some special... Okay, so what we're going to do, let's have a look. Let's have a look. First thing I'm going to do is select every file with Control and A, every clip here, and I'm going to bring them down by dragging the top of one of them by roughly 10 decibels, because this is something I'll talk about later with gain staging. Gain staging is very important. Most people in the modern digital era track way too loud, and their songs suffer as a result. Because you're fighting yourself, having to make sure that every plugin's got like less on the input, or everything's distorting where it shouldn't be distorting, and bad times all around. Just very quickly, I'm gonna just hoping then that I could find a way to send this mic through the headphones, but that's not the most important thing right now. I'm using the Slate VSX mixing system with, let's see what I'm using. Yeah, so I'm using my usual Archon midfields for this, which is a good place to start. So yeah, right now, the first thing I'm going to do is organize everything. We're going to hit save, and we're going to start putting things in folders, and we're going to color them because that'll help us see what's going on. So I'm going to put all of the drums in a folder, and I'm going to make more folders inside this. So I'm going to make a folder called kick. Actually, that's going to go, so I'm going to put all the kicks into their own folder. I'm going to make a snare folder so that not just for neatness, but so that the sound actually comes out separately. What's the cause of tracking too loudly? Just inexperienced engineers, I find, that people record and they want the levels to be really, really loud because loud looks good. Loud must be good. No, it's not. But yeah, I could get on a soapbox and spend hours talking about gain staging, and that would drive you all insane. I'm going to put the toms in their own group as well. I can still compress and EQ the toms separately, but having them here in a group will definitely help. Hats left and hats right. Okay, so this is where this is interesting. So there are two sets of hi-hats. Interesting. I'll leave them without a group. Ride. Overheads for me must go in a group. I hate working with mono left and mono right overheads. And the same with room. Rooms go in a group. Because rooms are processed to me as one thing. So there we go. That's all now. Folders in folders in folders in folders, and now I can select all of them, right click and go to track color, and I'm a bit chaotic here. I just go set tracks to random, set tracks to one random color. There we go. So the drums are now blue, and that's cool. Yeah, I mean, the thing about tracking too loudly is a lot of people don't realize that with good quality modern equipment, we're not fighting the noise floor anymore. It's okay for your hi-hats to not, like, these hi-hats were probably hitting, so the hi-hat there was hitting almost full, which is 20 decibels above where I would want it to be. That's literally cracking the meters on the master. And everybody knows in metal we don't want the hi-hats that loud. So why are the hi-hats that loud? That's the kind of thing. I should be able to roll the faders up and have the levels roughly where I want them. Anyway, let's move on from that and get the bass into its own group and have that as another random color. Oh, I keep pressing the one random color thing. Track color, one random color, not blue. That's far too close. There we go. I know a lot of people do like pretty rainbows and stuff. I go the opposite. I make sure that the next color that you do is very visually different from the last. That way you can very clearly see the end of one section and the start of another. And when you're flying through it really quickly, you don't have to stop and get your bearings and go, wait, hang on. So I'm going to go with, what have we got? We've got guitars and E cleans. So I'm going to have a rhythm group. And I'm going to put all of the rhythm in their own group. Slave to the rhythm, indeed. And I'm going to set them to... Hell color is that? That's almost grey. One random color. Bass is brown. Nothing is brown in my color palette. Thank you very much. Now, I did strip silence on these guitars before, but it looks like I say, these have been through 16-bit at some point because these have got a noise floor there, which is odd. So I'm going to remove silence again, but bring the threshold up to -70 for these. And that should, there we go, give us a much clearer thing. Now, why on earth are there all these little noise kind of things in here that are above 70 dB as a threshold. That's weird considering that's an amp sim as well. Anyway, that's fine. So let's get rid of them. And also, these guitar DI tracks, I'm going to delete them because I went through before and they're not actually DI tracks. They've actually got like an amp sim on them. So at some point later in this series, I should be able to get proper DIs to play with Rev Generator. Same with these DIs. These can go. So I'm going to make a new track for these. Clean guitar group. So that's a different color. What have we got? That's dark orange, or borange, if you will. One of my favorite colors, borange. So this is going to be, I'm just going to call this the synth group. And pop that in there, yeah. So make sure they're another random color. Right, that stands out like a sore thumb. Fantastic. And then we've got a vocal group, which I'm probably going to separate into more than one group later on, because it looks like there are loads and loads of them. But for now, I'm going to keep them as just one. Excuse me. That's a bit of a boring colour for the vocals. So I'm going to do that again. Oh, that's too close to the previous colour. One random colour is the same colour. Come on. That's more like it. Just a nice purple. Let's expand this out because it looks like, yeah, again, there are big bits of noise on some of these tracks. Which is okay. We can deal with it. It's not a big problem. All right. How are we doing? Oh, there's lots of people watching. Welcome on your Friday evening or Friday afternoon. Drink along with me if you like. I'm drinking a bourbon old fashioned with nice slices of orange peel and maraschino cherries in it. Because it is Friday night after all. This is how I spend my Friday nights because I am maximum nerd. Yeah. Oh, let's change the text. I never changed that. So that should be live mixing Epic Prog Metal. Candied pecan ale. I guess that sounds nice. Not the biggest fan of nuts, but yeah, it sounds nice. I do like a good ale from time to time. So there we go. If we look at this now, we've got a much more reasonable looking set of tracks. That's still 56 tracks, 61 if you include the folders, but it doesn't look crazy. The M-Red ones, yes, maraschinos. Yeah, maraschino, the original Luxardo cherry. Love them. I'm cherry addict. If I'm Max Nerd, what are you? Disciples of the nerd. Right, okay. So there's still some chattery noise, which is what I'm just quickly going through. Cleaning up now. Because if there's one thing I don't want, it's random noise just popping up in the mix when it's unwanted. If I want noise in my mix, I'll use a noise generator, goddammit. Otherwise known as a high gain guitar amp. So next thing to do is I'm going to pan some stuff. So I'm not going to do a proper mix yet. I'm just going to start panning things. So I'm going to bring up the mix window and go to a full drum beat. I'm going to start by just hard panning the overheads, and there's 3 rooms, left, center, and right. So I'm going to pan the lefts and rights and the hi-hats and just pan the toms, 70% left, 20, 30, 70. I can always change them. None of this is set in stone. A lot of people say, oh, you do really, you don't listen to it before you do it. And I say, no, it's a starting point. Now I've got an idea. Let's see how the drums sound in stereo. Sounds good. Okay, now let's listen to the bass quickly. Okay, sounds a little pedestrian, but we can work with it. It's well recorded and it's clean. And that's what really counts. If I run that with the drums, this isn't the loudest, but that's fine. I'm just going to bring the level of the bass up a touch. Do you hear how, like, this doesn't sound like the loudest? Nothing is really loud on any of the meters, and yet the master is already at -5. Yeah, so that's a really good starting point. So I'm going to go to my rhythms, and these are going to be loud. So I'm going to pan these. Pan, pan, left, right, left, right. Hello, Chris. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so those rhythm guitars sound acceptable. Let's get these clean guitars panned. Probably still a little bit loud, so I'll bring the actual tracks of these down a bit, because these, I feel like I'm going to just mix these as a group. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this sounds nice, and that's the thing about mixing. Proper professional mixing is that every element should sound nice before you begin. None of them sound like they fit together yet, and that is my job. So there's two interesting synths there and strings. And there's way too much low end in them. I can already tell straight away they are going to swallow up the mix, which is just a good thing to know. So I'm going to turn them down for a minute and then find this bass drop. Okay, so that's all good. And then we've got the vocal group where everything's absolutely blasting.
Light burns blue, surrounding shape. The feeling shouts I cannot escape. A storm chasing the reveals of hell. Soul decay, I cannot turn away. Light burns blue, surrounding shape.
So who produced the song? It was produced and recorded by the band SkyeAsylum. So it was recorded in multiple locations. Apparently the singer was recorded separately. I'm really not liking how this vocal's got loads of reverb on it already.
Light burns blue, surrounding shape. The feeling shouts I cannot escape. They call my name as the soul fire burns. The courage to never be the same. To accept my shame as the cold.
But that delay on that reverb, sorry, on the verse vocal there, I'm just gonna have to live with it, because that is what I have. So like I said, I'm hopefully gonna have the DIs for the guitars to run them through the rev, but everything else sounds reasonable here. I am going to quickly not do a mix as such, but I'm going to use what's the Sound Toys plugin that I always use? What's your name? Microshift. Because there's a chorus vocal and a double, so the double gets the microshift treatment.
The courage to never be.
There we go, because I do like, it's a classic technique from the early 90s, late 80s, which is have a main vocal that's right near the middle and there's a doubled vocal which has technically a pitch shifter on either side, one slightly up, one slightly down, and it does a thing like that which sounds weird on its own, but with another vocal layered on top which is dead mono. There we go. So now I'm gonna pan left right on anything that says left right on it, because all these vocals that I've got going on down here, they actually have in the name left and right. So I'm going to start from those points. If I need to pull them in or do any sort of clever effecting on them, then I can do, but there's no harm in me. So that's M for mono, so that's mono left right. There's no harm in me starting at the artist's intended vision. So let's listen to this with the panning.
Call my name as the soul fire burns, the courage to never be the same, to accept my shame as the cold winds churn, blessed with the power of the arcane. Whispered sigh, I resurrect my compassion. My compassion.
We've got whispers left and right as well. I suspect there's going to be a lot of subfoldering when we get to those, but we're not going to get to those for a while. Hopefully this level all makes sense that I can hit play now and we get what I would call kind of a non-mix, but we'll see. Right, okay, so I think that's as much as I need to hear to give me the larger strokes of the story. These two guitars, the HR guitars, I can hear that these are... Oh, snap is on, that's really annoying. These are ahead of the beat, so I'm going to push them back. And then we're going to start work on the drums. I'm going to turn up my headphones for this and solo the drums. And I'm going to find a nice big chorus to play with. Yeah, actually I'm going to go with a little loop here, which is what looks like open hi-hats going into a more aggressive section. I'm just going to loop this. And so this is where I start doing a bit of top-down mixing, and I'm very gentle with what you might call top-down mixing. I don't put much on my master bus these days. I used to, but these days I very gently touch it. So I'm going to start with the Shadow Hills Class A. There we go. And I'm going to match my controls on this so that the drums should probably be the most transient attack thing in the track. So I'm using the attack of the drums, even as they stand, to just tickle the optical and discrete compressors in here. Which, actually, the settings that this comes with as default, and you can see them here, are absolutely perfect for what I want out of this mix. So I'm going to try and get the discrete here to just tickle the needle. There we go. So that's our master kind of bus compressor that's doing almost nothing. But as we start adding elements and the whole song starts to take shape, if there are any big hits or transients, this should gently and softly just take care of them. Mixire, oh dear. And then I've got a new toy that I've been playing with, which is the Black Box Analog Design HG2, which just gives everything a little bit more oomph. I like it. And those are just going on the master output. Those are going to affect everything. And now I'm going to kind of top-down mix the drums. So I like to start with the virtual tape machine from Slate and turn the input and output kind of inside out a little bit because otherwise as we hit them with drums, it'll saturate too much. And, what was I doing on drums? Not a True Iron alternative. No, True Iron is what's going on the drum bus now. So this is another one of my favourite little things. And I've taken the output down by a decibel because things do feel louder when you use True Iron. I don't want things to feel louder. I want everything to just be a cohesive hit. There we go. I don't want any crazy compression or anything on the drums. Not yet, anyway. In fact, no, I don't want that at all on the drum group. I actually do things a slightly different way than that. So I'll talk about that later on. I try not to use too much parallel compression on overall drum buses, but yeah, we'll get to that. Because my starting point for the drums is actually the overheads. And what I'm going to do is I've been using the Brainworks SSL 9000 recently, which is an absolutely wonderful set of plugins. So I'm going to put that on the room. I'm going to put that on each of the hi-hats. I'm going to put it on every one of the toms. I'm going to cover the mix in this, basically. Group there, snare. I'm going to stick one on the snare bottom as well. I'm going to stick one on the kick. And that's a starting point. I'm not going to do the entire mix of these, but these are, like I said, the starting point. And so if I open up one of these, I can also click random channel all, which is really cool because that means that now every one of those that I've just pasted acts very subtly differently, which means that you don't get these kind of digital EQ build-ups, that you get these little honks. So let's see how this sounds now before doing anything. Oh yeah. Awesome. So I've not even done anything yet, really. So let's clean up these overheads by taking out some low end first. And there is a compressor inbuilt here, which I'm going to use by bringing up the threshold. There we go. And I'm taking the kick out of the overheads because the kicks in the overheads are actually quite woolly, and I want a far more attacky kick drum. But the kick drum's then going to sound like it's not in the room, so I'm going to compensate for that soon. Let's just listen for any kind of frequencies we don't want in the overheads. There we go. There's a big slosh on the hi-hats. That's around 900 hertz. So I'm actually going to not do it on the green channel. I'm going to do it on the one lower down because then that leaves the high one free if I come back to it. So let's take a few. Okay, so there's a little E button here which I just pressed, which turns this EQ into like the SSL-E standard EQ, which is a lot more throaty in the mids and just does something slightly different. Question from Chris. Is known that I'm really methodical, but do I work from instinct with sound, or is there a grand vision you aim for aspects of the mix? It's a bit of both, which is why I like to listen to the unmixed mix at the start a little bit, just to give me a feeling. But I don't listen to it for too long because otherwise I'll get I'll contract demoitis, which is I'll end up with everything sounding like it originally sounded, which means that you didn't improve on it anyway. I mean, arguably, of course, you can also go the other way and, not change anything. So, yeah, this is a really good starting point. It's hard to describe. I'm very instinctual with this, really. So this is the overheads. They're really good sounding overheads, actually. Well done. So, onto the room. There we go. The center room mic was way louder than the other two. So if I just play without that center one, and then with, that's cool. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the Devil Lock Deluxe plugin and crush these overheads to death. So let me remember how I do this. I turn the mix to 0, turn crush and crunch up pretty high, make it a little dark, and then gradually mix this in. There we go. So that's not ready as such, because that needs some real EQ work, but that is a really good way to make a drum kit massively come to life. Listen to the sound size of it. So the first thing we're going to do is add in a low pass filter to get rid of the super high stuff, because I don't want the super high stuff out of this. That's what the overheads are for. And now I'm going to engage the E channel again, and I'm going to look for that slosh on the hi-hats. There, and I'm just going to scoop a load of that slosh out. There's also something higher up that's a little more specific. Ooh, there. Sorry, everybody. That's painful. But yeah, I'm going to take that away. And that's a lot of booming low end on the room. But for now, I like that. I think I'm going to take some out, actually. No, I'm going to take what I call the higher bass out. It's probably around 200-ish. Because a lot of people say, oh, you should monoize your bass. I respectfully disagree to a certain point. As long as it's done tastefully, widening low-frequency instruments can give a mix a huge sound. So, let's see how this sounds in with the overheads. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do is that is still... I put them the wrong way around. So I'm actually going to use the compressor in here again after the Devil Lock, because that's something from like In the Air Tonight and those classic kind of sounds. Is you can really go for it. Yeah, someone in the comments saying, be careful with whiskey, it can trick your ears. Very, very true. Oh. There's still a whistle frequency there. So I'm just going to quickly have a digital EQ afterwards and just look for it. Oh, sorry, everybody. Just going to take that out. And what I was going to do originally was take the fader down in here on the room, because I do specifically want to crush it on here. And I want to take the fader down just so that it matches with the room. Okay, so that's sounding pretty awesome. Greetings, Monsieur Baumel. So, yeah, let's listen to this hats right channel, because it looks like this guy's got two hi-hats. And what I don't tend to do with hi-hat mics is gate them these days. I might put an expander on it. There we go. So I'm scooping a load of low end out there. Let's just see if there's a... See how much hi-hat we actually have. So that's the right hi-hat, and I'm actually just going to copy that completely over to the left hi-hat, because this is the key one, because this is usually the beat keeper. Oh, that's got a big low slosh in it, as do most hi-hats, and I hate it. So let's find it. Turn it up. Locate it, turn it down. And all I want out of these two microphones here, I'm going to just mute them. Oh no, I'm not going to mute them. I'm going to solo the overhead room. All I want is for these to make the hi-hat stand out. I don't want them to be super loud. Cool. And similar thing with the ride mic. Again, I don't like gating things like this if I can help it. This needs to be panned off to the side. I don't know if this song has any ride parts. Right, so I'm just going to copy the one from hi-hat left, which scoops all the low end out, puts an expander on it. And that's just going to aid in making the snare pop. This is something that I've been really liking recently. I mean, how massive does that sound? And I've not even added the close mics yet. That's the truly ridiculous thing. So yeah, the reason that I'm working backwards to this is because it would be silly of me to try and dial in a kick and a snare when the rest of the kit can already help it out, because I would get the perfect snare or kick sound, try and add all the other elements in, and that would screw everything up. And then I'd have to start again. Why do it twice? So at this point, I'm going to look at the toms. Oh no, the toms have been properly stripped, so we're not going to get any extra room off these toms, I don't think. Oh, hello. Oh, wow. Okay, so those have got no definition. Da-dum-dum. 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 Will this be available after the live stream? Yes, it will. I don't know why people ask that, because anything that goes on YouTube stays on YouTube permanently and has done forever. But yeah, people seem to ask that every time. So those toms have a fair amount of bleed in them, but they are gated properly. So looks like I don't really need... Oh, I'm not going to touch the console that's on each separate tom yet. I'm just going to crank the high end. I'm going to put quite a strong gate on these. The fast release. Fast attack. Fast attack's bringing out some click. Longer hold. Shorter hold. No hold. Right. So yeah, I've put a little bit of expansion on here with a relatively slow release just to stop it from doing that Duke thing. Hello. Hello everybody in chat. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're all doing well. Do feel free to fire away with questions. This is just the basic getting together of the things. So, I've now got toms, hats, room, everything. Let's listen to this. I need a lot more attack out of these. Yeah, these have been gated probably a little too aggressively. 60-second speech on the gate versus expander in the SSL console. Sure. So to keep it short, the SSL has either an expander or a gate. And the only real difference is that an expander is supposed to kind of come back down to a certain level, whereas a gate's supposed to cut everything dead. Am I related to Joshua Weissman? Unfortunately not. Someone told me about him a little while ago, and funnily enough, I am a fully trained chef, but no relation to the American Josh Weissman. Yes. Oh, Bommel, yeah, crying about the drums. It's so true. I would love to have had more on these toms. They've been cut very cleanly. But that might be fine because we'll probably end up sending them to a nice big reverb that will make the tails reappear, and that will solve a lot of our issues there. I mean, not that there are issues. That's the other thing. I mean, I can hear a little bit of hiss now from all of those. Yes, Joshua Weissman is not related to me, as much as that would be really cool. So now I've got all the stuff up to the snare. Let's listen to this with the snare. Okay, so that's a really good sounding snare. It's a little bit light for me. I might stick a sample underneath it with more weight in. I'm going to try adding some low end with the EQ first. And I am going to use the expander here just to take the background noise down a little, but I don't need to go crazy with it. There we go. So that's really nice. And actually, I'm going to use the compressor in here, which by default is about 3.5 to 1, which is perfect for what I'm looking for. And just bring the threshold up until it cracks. There we go. Now I've done that in solo, which is a cardinal sin, I know. So now I'm going to try doing this in with the rest of the kit. That's sounding nasty. We've not done the kick drum yet, so if you're thinking the kick drum sounds a bit soft, that's very much on purpose. So now I'm going to add in, some little sweeteners. So snare room, this helps when you can spell room, come idiot. Come on, and snare weight. So these are going to be interesting. So for the snare room, this is something I do on loads of mixes like this. Rather than using a reverb, I will still use a reverb on these drums. But what I do, where are they? I've got the trigger files here, is I've got, let's just have a listen to, no, it's one of the snare, is it this one? Let's just put Audition on. That's too much. That one. Mike Portnoy's snare, but just the room. So you use a denoiser for gating. Interesting. Multiband gate. I don't go that far with gating. I don't want ultra gating. That's the funny thing, is that I don't need it. So yeah, that was a massive sound. And I'm going to send the top snare mic to that because it's probably the cleanest trigger. And hopefully that'll do it. Ah, there we go. So I need to... Right, so what I need to do is bring up the incoming volume. There we go. So that's a brilliant trick that I use all the time. Listen to this. This is not a snare sample. This is just a room echoing. So if I just mute the kick and run that. I'm actually going to bring that into the fold and have that in the drum group so that the tape affects it. And then I'm going to do something very similar called snare weight, which is, hit save. I'm now going to send to the trigger on this channel. But I'm going to delete that because I don't like having more than one sample on one track unless they are supposed to be a combined sound. Yeah. Slate Trigger is great for this kind of stuff. So I recently got the Bendeth snares. That's the one. Or maybe that's the one, actually. The Vinnie Paul room mic. Oh, let's just... The dog's bollocks. Yes, that is the correct use of the term. So I'm going to hit play. Now, I'll probably need a lot less of this. This is just a little bit... rather than trying to EQ in a highly tuned snare to have more weight, which there's only so far you can go with that. I can add this in, so... Yeah, that sounds kind of fake. Do I tune the sample? No, because I'm looking for a specific sample that has what I want anyway. I don't want it to be tuned to the kit or anything. I want it to be in its own space with that low end thump. That's what I'm looking for. So it looks like the Bendeth snares aren't going to cut it today, which is fine. Unless the Oakle tree does it. Actually, I think that does it perfectly. I've just got to have another SSL 9000 on here to bring that low end out. And then another one quickly to get rid of the thunk thunk. There we go, because I'm not looking to add in the 200 hertz range. I'm just adding... some super low stuff. Right, that's not quite doing it either, but we're almost there, I think. I've just got to find the right snare that's got that ridiculous thump thump. Somewhere on my computer I have some other things that might do exactly what I'm looking for. If I can get my brain in order. Everybody hang on a second. Nice jazz. Should have some drum shots. Ever tried to get the from the snare bottom mic? Yes, and it doesn't work. The snare bottom mic's far too full of interference. If I just solo the undersnare here. Now you've said it, I'm going to try adding a little in. I mean, that does sound like it's got a little more oomph to it, which is great, but I'm looking for a specific thing. And somewhere on my computer, I know I have that thing. The question is, where did I put it? Because I move things around far too often. Never mind, it's disappeared, I think. All right, so unless they're in there, no, they're not in there. Okay. Aha. Oh, it's in my downloads folder, right? Okay. Does trigger accept wave files is the question. I can never remember. But if it does, let's go into my users folder, which I'm not going to show you my everything because someone will inevitably hack things. If you show too much, you know, downloads. I will copy these files. In fact, let's copy these files right now. Because I have two sets of the drum shots. So I'm going to extract these to a relative place and put that back on the screen. I can hear quite a lot of hissing, which means that I need to gate a lot of these SSL channels because they're adding up to provide noise, but they're... I'll show you that anyway. It's not that interesting. Refresh, SSD5. Billy Decker is heavy kick, heavy snare. That's the Billy Decker thing. It's ridiculous. It's awful. It's far too much, which is why I love it. Yeah, Billy Decker's crazy, but he knows what he wants. I think that's the one. Yeah, there we go. That's what I was looking for. That's something you cannot do with the original microphones on any snare drum ever because of bleed, because of the signal that comes from the snare. There's only so much you can do with additive EQ. So this is where I use things like snare reinforcement. I mean, it's definitely reinforcement. If I turn the original snare off, this is going to sound horrible. Yeah, the Tyler Larson drum shots, the kick makes it into 90% of your mixes. That's kind of why I don't use that one. No offense. I like to use things not just because they sound good, but because they fill a particular hole in what I'm doing. Like that's the Billy Decker thing. He's won Grammys with those snares. But on their own, I don't like them at all. So let's bring up the kick. So let's look at these. because I've got 2 kick in and 2 kick out mics here because there are 2 drums. Let's have a look at these. The kick out's got a real sub-woofiness to it, so I'm going to keep it. And then the trigger that they've added in is a little bit pedestrian, but together that's a pretty good start. So let's save that. And I am going to play around with the trigger here by actually adding slate trigger on top of it, just straight on top. I'm going to completely just solo this for a second. And I'm going to look in my Billy Decker stuff again. So, back road. Oh. That's the one I'm looking for. That's ridiculous. So let's crank the input. Now, where's the original mix? There we go. Let's mix that in with the original drums now. There we go. And in videos on mixing guitar tones raw and no other instruments, I can't remember the last time I did that. I mean, if you mean electric guitar, then no, because electric guitar is a real pain in the ass. And I don't tend to mix it separately because it's all about working in concert. But if that gets thrown at me as a paid gig, then you'll get to see it. So yeah, right. Here's what we'll do. We'll put some expansion on this. And then use the compressor so it's not going crazy level-wise. And we'll listen to it in with the rest of the kit. Yeah, don't do tones out of a mix. That is exactly what I'm saying. I start tones out of the mix sometimes, but then I always bring them back to context. Always. Right, that's sounding really good. The kick actually is missing a little bit in the low mids, I think. Yeah, because as much as that kick sounded huge, and this is again, I think it's just experience, there's a big kind of mid scoop in that kick sample I used, which I kept the original drum mics in there, these. Because they help to fill that gap in, which I actually want some weight in, because when we transfer to smaller speakers or when the rest of the elements come in, the kick would just get lost apart from a clicky click and a rumble rumble. So yeah. There we go. And the other thing is, and I'm going to play the drums mostly through now. Oh, no, one more thing before I do. I'm going to do a thing called kick room. This is another thing that a lot of people don't do that I think people should, which is having room sound dedicated to the kick in stereo. So one more copy of trigger. I know I've got a lot of triggering going on. Get rid of that thump, thump, the thump. And let's have another look at the Billy Decker kicks. Is there a kick room anywhere? No, there's no kick room in there, which is fine, because the Bendeth kicks, I think, have kick room. No, they're no help. Trigger kicks, black kick. There, that one. This is a magic trick that makes kicks sound bigger on smaller speakers. Compared to, if I just add that in, it doesn't have to be nearly that loud. That reverb that's generated separately and isn't actually a reverb plugin, because it's not a reverb plugin, it's perfectly controlled and manageable and goes through any parallel compression we might want to add. Then oh. There we go. And I can afford to push the top end on the kick a little bit now that there's some room sound on it. It doesn't sound alien. Saw something about Staley Bridge. Yeah. No, it's funny. We don't tend to tell people where we are too much, because when we tell people where we are, and I'm just going through now and just making sure all the expanders and gates are engaged, because I can hear a lot of hissing. And I'm just going to tame it just by actually, I'm going to leave that on the toms because that was being used musically. Ride. Yeah. Overhead, actually. V-gain, was that the one? Yeah, V-gain turns down the hiss, and I can turn up the THD a little bit to make it crunch without the hiss. So the next thing to do, I'm just going to minimize these groups so it looks nice and tidy for a minute. That's all we've got. And I'm going to make an effects group, because I can make several reverbs and things in here. And I'm going to color this another certain color, track color, one random color. Ooh, a nice green that's already been used. So let's do it again. That's a nice yellow. That's nice. I like. So I'm going to get a copy of True Iron going on the effects group so that any reverbs and stuff get transformer saturated. I just like that. And I'm going to set up my usual culprits. There we go. So this is stuff. I do one-to-one tutorials. They're not particularly common because I'm the busiest I've ever been, but I can do them. Struggling to set up your Kemper to reamp through Reaper. I'm sure that's possible. You might need extra hardware, like a reamp box, but it's very doable. It depends on what you have and what your aims are. Anyway, let's go. So Verb Suite Classics is my go-to reverb for a room. Oh, hello. I put that in the wrong place. So I want a BM7 room, Studio B close, all the settings perfectly as they are supposed to be. A little bit pre-delay for this song, I think, because I can hear a qua kind of thing I'm going to want. How do you automate changing time signatures? You find where you want a time signature, generally snapping to the bar, and the keyboard shortcut is Shift and C, tempo time signature marker, and just tick set time signature and add that in there. You can also view, and somewhere in here should be tempo map. View master track, that's what you want, and there's view tempo envelope. And you can actually see all your time signatures and tempo map at the top there if you want them. I don't tend to use that unless it's a particularly complex song, because when you do add time signatures, they come up on the time bar anyway. But if you want that, there it is. So I'm going to use Verb Suite Classics again for the snare verb, but using the Lexicon 480, actually completely resetting it. I'm going to reset all parameters because the Lexicon 480A plate is my perfect plate. The plate reverb is going to be what's it called? Lustrous Plates, which is another Slate plugin, which I faff around with this depending on the song. And then the delay is going to be Echo Boy. And I'm just going to set this up as ping pong, a little bit feedback, completely wet, quarter note ping pong, and cutting a load of stuff out of it. And I'm going to leave that there for now, a little bit of saturation, because I don't know how I'm going to use it. And on the effects group, I'm going to add another one of these SSL consoles. I know I'm going crazy with it, but this is as if we were mixing through a real SSL console. And I'm going to use this to scoop out all the low end from the effects, because I don't want muddiness coming from the reverbs and the delays. So hopefully that's all we need there. And that's going to... Yeah, I'm going to leave a little bit of range on there, so it's very insensitive. Yeah, there we go. So it's got a threshold of -60, so the reverbs and stuff will get through this. There we go. You see how the drums are already clipping, and we've not even got to the point of, yeah, there's a lot of and there. I know it is a lot, but there you go. Let's take each of our shrunken down groups, because you can shrink the groups if you right click on something, and there it is. You can click for folders, clickable icon for folder tracks to show and hide the children. Right. So, reason I'm using Reaper. Amazing. Well, welcome. So I'm going to select every one of my drum tracks here and just bring them down by 3 dB. And I've noticed now that the snare is a little bit inconsistent, so I'm going to add a compressor before the SSL channel, as if it was an insert. I'm going to use PSP's InfiniStrip because I like it. And I'm going to make sure that comes in before the SSL channel on the snare. So let's just listen to this. Get a VCA compressor. No, you know what? There's already a VCA compressor on there with the SSL one. So I'm just going to get rid of all this stuff because I don't need it. And just try and tame some of the really hard snare hits. There we go. And all that's doing, because it's a human drummer instead of a program drummer, is if they really got excited and did a big crack on a hit, then that makes sure that that one gets leveled down and controlled. Because that's what we want. We want life, we want liveliness, but we need to keep the big hits in check so that we don't end up with some sort of every now and again just a hit that blows you away and is way louder than the rest of the mix, because nobody wants that. So this is sounding amazing. Right, so next thing is I wanted to send the toms a little bit to the room reverb, so let's hear this. Less than that. And quite a bit to the plate reverb. So the plate reverb needs the tweak. Let's go with the vocal medium vocal. See where that gets us. Nice one, Arcade. I'm guessing you're from round here. Cheers. Not liking how that third tom sounds. There's a honky, boxy mid in there. Oh, wrong one. That's actually the second tom I'm hearing. It's just confusing because there's a blank track there. So it's tom. There it is, the 800 hertz honk. There we go. They sound more consistent now, and there's an 18 somewhere. Yeah, so I want plenty of reverb on them. And I also want the snare to go to the snare verb. What did I set the snare verb as? No, I didn't want the plate for this. I wanted something entirely different. I wanted the CLA snare from FG2000. And that's way, way too loud. There's a certain ring on the snare on the ghost notes, which is nice, but it's too loud. It's coming through, it's going to cut through everything. There's a bring. There it is. So I've just got to loop this a little bit and look for that. There. I don't need to kill this by much. I just need a couple of dB out there. And I'm going to make up for that, hopefully, by adding in more undersnare. So I'm going to compress the undersnare. Because when you compress the undersnare on the SSL, it's gotten like an auto makeup gain. So it brings the and up because I want more of that. I want more ghost notes from the undersnare, not from the top. Huh? There we go. Good stuff. So, Some nastiness on the toms, yeah, but I might have to come back to that when the mix is together. Because in context, I like that. Sydney's just got back from the pub. I'm sure you said that last time. What pub? That's the question. No, it's all good. It's all a sense of humour. It's just, I wish I could go to the pub. There we go. I'm just dialing out just a little bit of that crack on the snare because there's so much of it is dominating the mix. So hopefully that's got it. Right, so what I might have to do is I can hear some wob 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 on the kick. I might have to use the gate a little more aggressively. There we go. So that's just a little bit tighter and a little bit more gated than without. So I don't want to go crazy with the gating. I don't want it to go dip, 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 dip. But with the room, that takes over that extra bit. So now the low end can be a lot cleaner because instead of the super low end going wob 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 wob, it goes ba 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 ba.
Storm chasing the reveals of hell. I saw the K, I cannot turn away. Call my name as the soul fire burns. The courage to never be the same. To accept my shame as the cold winds churn. Blessed with the power of the
Ah, with a compressor on the bass bus, do you side chain the kick? No, not usually. I'm fairly anti-side chain. My general opinion is if you need to sidechain things, unless you're a house DJ, you're doing something wrong. Everything should have space for itself in the mix anyway. Quite often at the very end of a mix, I'll use a plugin called Track Spacer, which does a kind of thing like a sidechain compressor, but far more selectively. And that's final polish. I don't need it. It's like an extra candy piece on top. I don't rely on it. Because yeah, the frequencies and everything that I try and aim for, the kick, like you saw me cleaning up the low end then, it shouldn't be interfering with the bass anyway. And if it is, you've got a problem that sidechaining wouldn't have fixed. And I do have some very gentle overall compression on the main output. So I'm kind of like top-down mixing, and that should just briefly duck the low end of the whole mix, split second enough that the kick makes room for itself. So yeah, at this point, I'm just listening through to this, see how it sounds.
No fire burns, the courage to never be the same, to accept my shame, 'cause the cold winds jump, blessed with the power of the arcane. Resurrect my compassion.
There we go. I was just doing that just so I could bring the guitars up to a level so I could hear what's going on. Right, so I'm gonna carry on the mix now. Actually, I'm gonna do the guitars last, which is a bit weird, but guitars are just white noise and they can fill in any space you want them to. So the bass comes next. Right. I'm gonna commit a bold move right now. I'm gonna delete that track entirely because I've got the DI right here. So I'm going to do a trick that I do quite a lot, which is going to send the DI out to the other track pre-effects. So no matter what I do mixing just the clean DI, I have a second track here of that, which I can then process separately. So this is where Mammoth comes in. Mammoth! So I'm just going to... Can I... just solo that without. Cool. That is a very, very bright bass sound. That should be fuzzing by now. I'm going to turn up the original DI just to get some drive going on this and turn the output down on Mammoth. Yeah, it's very noisy. It sounds like it's been tracked through an interface. That's what happens. People can't hear the problems recording straight through interfaces, and they're like, oh, it sounds fine to me. Yeah, then when I try and crush it to death, I can hear fizzy fuzzy on the top. Right, so I'm just going to solo the original track. And I'm going to do a little bit of work to this to make it sound... huge. Do I still have bass mint on here? Yeah, I do. Basement. 3 days to renewal. I'll do that later. Let's try super fat bass. Sweet Jesus. Oh, wow. I might need that to turn down, but go underneath Mammoth. Right. That is going into another 9000 series because we're mixing on a 9000 desk, essentially, is the way I'm seeing it today. And so I'm going to compress it, probably end up turning it down. But the compression is just to level everything out, just to keep that clicky click in a place. I'm putting a low pass filter in just to take that hiss off the top, and a high pass filter, probably 30 hertz, just to stop sub rumble. Could I explain the bass through the interface problem? Right. Most audio interfaces that you're going to get, including like this brand new Audient Evo 8, which is great, they're built to a budget, which means that each separate part of it has to cost a certain amount, and the DI part of it is usually relatively inexpensive, which means that problems creep in when it's then converted to microphone level, and it can add noise that on a clean signal you can't hear really, but once you process it, those problems become evident, like kind of hiss and poor conversion. Even with an interface that is good, I would use a separate DI box into the preamp for two reasons. Firstly, that converts the signal into a microphone level very, very well. And secondly, it does it outside of the interface, so the electronics are as far apart as possible, which means there's much less chance of noise interference. Guitar signals are notoriously susceptible to picking up noise. Whereas microphone signals aren't, because they are balanced, which means that they actually have this like inbuilt noise cancelling, where just DI plugging that in doesn't. So yeah, it's worth investigating. So yeah, I can hear a slight honk around 300-400 hertz, which I'm just going to get a little out. Now I need to listen to this in context with the drums, because yeah, I've been mixing in solo again, naughty me, just to show you what's going on and make sure Basement was doing the right thing. Now I need to check it in with the drums and tweak it from there. Play the kick alongside with it. Why? Just to prove a point. I suppose it does prove that the kick needed more low end. That's fair. Now back to whole drum group and bass group. There we go. On a heavy mix like this, I'm going to do an extra trick, which is micro shift again. This is an Andy Wallace trick and one that I like very much, but you've got to be clever with it. And that is pitch shifting on the bass. That sounds wrong, but in context, when we do put the guitars in, it'll sound massive. And there's a focus knob here which takes it away from the ultra low stuff. There we go. So you don't have it 100% wet, but without it, it sounds good. With it, it sounds huge. Awesome. Right, so it seems the only thing that actually comes in at the start otherwise is these clean guitars. Right, they sound entirely uninspiring. Let's use Decapitator to bring some life out of them. And they are going to need a 9000 in because I can definitely hear a low mid honk. That's sounding better. I've driven them now and then took out some of the horrible honkiness, compressed them down so that they fit better, and I'm now going to just use re-EQ. There's still a certain something I'm looking for that I could do with dialing out a little. Yeah, there's definitely a bit of interesting arrangement choice going on here as well. But at this point, I'm going to add a load of room reverb to him. And a load of plate reverb. Massive space and the delay. Which hopefully... maybe it's a half note I need at 165 BPM. Yeah, I think this guitar's so kind of honky, I'm going to have to use Soothe to really kind of nail it down. There's a particular note in there, which means that I need to specifically get a really narrow band and find it. Anyway, that sounded much nicer now. Oh, yes! Right, so I am going to mute the electric guitars again, and I'm going to turn these down a bit. These are going to be automated all over the place by the sound of it. Right. That needs a lot of work. First things first, that super low end on this, no way, mana. That is not a good idea. Never have more than one element in your mix that's got a super honking low end. So let's listen to this. Does it say what guitars were used in the notes? Nope. Loud ones. Right, so I'm just going to mute those other synths for now and just play this one with everything else that we've got. Right, this needs more movement. So this is already going towards Pan Man for me. Going both ways. Hello, David on Twitch. Yeah, I'm not going to be doing this much longer, I'm afraid, because there's going to be a part 2 of this when I get the DIs for the guitars and run them through the rev. Ah, he's watching. Mr. SkyeAsylum himself. Hello, 7-string Jackson. Cool. Now, there we go. I've taken the low end out of that, and without doing anything other than making it move to catch your ear without just sitting in one mix, suddenly this... So, there we go. Right, now what's this synth? That needs its own, yes, you guessed it, everybody, 9000J. This needs all its low end removing as well. There we go. It has a low mid thing, which is probably going to interfere with the guitar. So out that goes. Compressor comes in. That's really nice, but this one gets reverb. This one's suddenly got a lot more movement. There was something else I was going to do. This one can have like a stereo imager. Stereo image filter, that'll... No. There we go. This is just a basic inbuilt Reaper image filter that's very light on CPU, where it's kind of made it mid-side and pushed the sides and dipped the mids a bit, because the mids, that's where the kick, the snare, and the vocal go. This is probably going to sound weird and honky in the mix, but this is where I turn this back on and now experiment in the track. Are they supposed to be later, those strings, or have I done that? Were they supposed to be on the ba, ba? So yeah, if our mix artist is watching, are they off time as something I've done? If not, that's great. But yeah. Strings always need all the low end chopping out. Yeah, I thought so. I thought I'd heard them in the mix. I'll just put them back on the bar. There we go. So I've made them really thin and reedy and really high punch, which also means that I can turn them down and they'll stick out of the mix like a sore thumb. It's a little too scratchy now. I can just back that off a bit. No, what I'm going to do is the classical music method. Even though I've really boosted the high end now, I'm going to put a low pass filter in and take the top out. So they need to be quieter, but they can also go quite a lot to these reverbs. That's cool. That needs awesoming up a bit. But otherwise, yeah. Awesome. Now, where's the mix control on basement? I can never remember. I'll just use the Reaper one. I'm going to do that. I'm also going to use, come on, brain, micro shift again, like I did on the bass track. So... And I'm going to use Decapitator a little bit just before that bass processor.
Call my name as a sunfire.
Yeah, because that now, obviously I've not finished the guitars.
Call my name as a sunfire burns. The courage to never be the same. To accept my shame as the cold winds joy.
Right, so let's work with these, shall we? Let me think. First thing is, let's go with this guitar tone. I like this guitar tone. It's not quite what I would have gone with, but that's fine. Let's de-whistle it because there's kind of a There we go. So I've got rid of a lot of the nasty frequencies in the guitars already. And I'm going to do something that I do quite a lot, which is add a little bit of room reverb to the guitars. Not... Now, yeah, doing it in with the rest of the mix is now everything. That sounds pretty cool. Let's get that onto the slate tape. That'll make it sound thick. Ah! And true iron after that. Absolutely slammed. There we go. I forgot to hit the E button, which makes guitars always work. Let's try this in the mix. Probably too loud. Which is fine. We just turn it down. Right, okay, so again, I'm not doing the whole mix tonight, but I'm slightly inspired, so I'm going to get a few of my default little things on the vocal bus here. Virtual tape machine, true iron, fresh air from Slate, with a few % there. That's just on the vocal group there. So that's before I even process any specific vocal, because that gives it a little fatness from the tape, a little drive from true iron, and a little bit of clarity from the fresh air, which is very clever.
Evenings I contemplate my silence, my silence. The light burns blue, surrounding shape. The feeling shouts it cannot escape. A storm chase sings, it reveals a hell. I saw the cat.
All right, stop. Chill.
Evenings I contemplate my silence, my silence. The light burns blue, surrounding shape. The feeling shouts it cannot escape. A storm.
Wow.
Evenings I contemplate my silence.
Look how high I've got that. 338 hertz, that is. But that doesn't sound like it's taken too much out of the low end. It's just less muddy.
Evenings I contemplate my silence.
And a little bit out of the 400 hertz there. I always find that really well recorded, actually, female vocals just have too much low end. It just doesn't sound right. It ends up with a low honk. The fresh air, yeah, it's more intelligent than an EQ. It's like a frequency specific expander, like parallel, because it's a trick that engineers used to do using Dolby noise reduction when it wasn't supposed to be used. So it's kind of hard to explain, but it does this thing where everything just sounds dynamically crisper. You've got to be careful with using too much of it.
Evenings I contemplate my silence.
Right, so that sounds really nice. I'm going to bring up Slate's virtual mix rack because this vocal's still quite dynamic. I'm really going to push the boundaries of bringing up that reverb tail that's in there by slamming the Vintage 76 before the SSL here.
Evenings I contemplate my silence.
Hopefully this fits in the mix. It's probably too loud.
Evenings I contemplate my silence, my
So that needs a de-esser on it for sure. Oh, shizzle for sure. I invoke the holy gods that are waves. Ha! It's not so bad. There's a kind of a upper mid specific honk I can hear. It's a microphone honk, room honk. There. Oh, some questions in chat from DBQP Studio. Am I using the Austrian Audio High X55s? I'm not using them today. They are at my studio. I do use them for tracking a lot. The video about them is coming out tomorrow, actually. These are the Slate Virtual Audio VSX system, and these are really good because these, if I load up these, show you the accompanying software, make it feel like I'm in the room mixing. I mixed on monitors for years. I'm currently kind of switching monitors out at the studio. This is my little home office, so my studio away from the studio, and I have been mixing on headphones for 10 years or more when I've had to, alongside mixing on monitors. So yeah, I have a lot of experience with getting around the hurdles of headphones, but the VSX is an absolute game changer. Thing is, a lot of the moves I'm making are exactly the same moves that I would make if I was listening on monitors. And at the end of the mixing process, next time I'm in the studio, I will load this up in the studio on the monitors and check it in a room. See if anything stands out to me that shouldn't. But at this point, I kind of know if something sounds wrong to me on the VSX, especially on the Archons on the midfields, which is the kind of virtual room that I've gotten used to, then it stands out very quickly to me and I can hear issues very quickly, which is great. Sounding pretty good so far. Let's listen to my silence whispers because they can have their own little group. My silence. My silence. No breath at the start, thanks. My silence. My silence. My silence. My silence. My silence. There we go. My compassion. My compassion. And I will become the everything. Will become. Right, this needs cutting. Will become the everything. Because these are so quiet. Everything. The everything. The everything. There we go. These are gonna need some pretty heavy compression. Although actually decapitator might be cool for these rather than a compressor. My silence. My silence. My silence. My silence. And then just a really heavy de-esser. My silence. My silence. There we go. I can really heavily DS these because the main vocal says it as well.
My silence. My silence.
Let's just have a look at DSer.
My silence. My silence.
Let's just see if that fits, because it probably needs a bit of reverb on that. So I'm just going to copy it from here.
My silence. My silence. My silence.
Loads of that short room reverb.
My silence. My silence. My silence.
Waves F6. No, I don't use Waves if I can help it. I know I've got some Waves plugins here, but apart from the Waves DS, I'm kind of out of the Waves ecosystem.
My silence. My silence. My silence.
How does VSX compare with Waves Virtual Studio? Waves Virtual Studio is awful. Makes you feel dizzy, doesn't make you feel like you're in the room. You are aware at all times that you are wearing a virtual solution. With these, you kind of forget, apart from the physical aspect, that you're actually listening on headphones, and it's like you're listening on monitors. It's fascinating. Yeah, the audio and video might be out of sync slightly. I'm going to carry on mixing rather than spend 30 minutes getting the sync exactly right, because, you know, it's probably one of those things like the cheap capture card that's drifted and will drift back, so if I try and change it, it will kind of undo itself, and yeah, I may as well just leave that as is, because it's not hurting anyone.
Contemplate my silence. My silence. Light burns blue, surrounding shape. Fueling shout that cannot escape. Storm chasing the reveals of hell. I saw the decay, I cannot turn away. Call my name.
Cool. That's getting there, and that's the kind of bit where she launches there, where, let's see, yeah, one of the guys saying in sync on that end. It's, yeah, not an easy fix, unfortunately. Not unless I really just spend 10 minutes just staring at the screen and clapping and syncing. Also, sometimes the capture card for the camera stutters a bit like that and then stops doing it. And because it keeps stopping doing it, but yeah. Like I was saying, she blasts a bit there and it gets lost in the mix. As long as it sounds good, and there is a little bit more tweaking I think I need to do, but whisper, but not much. That when we get to that point, I will automate the volume on that bit to just lift up, rather than changing any compression settings.
Surrounding shape, fueling shout that cannot escape. Storm chasing the reveals of hell. I saw the decay, I cannot turn away. Call my name as the sunfire burns. The courage to never be the
Cool. So I'm going to put the chorus vocal in a group. This is still the kind of the rough mix as far as I'm concerned, because I am going to, I think, change the sound of the guitars if I get a choice. And when I do, that will change elements of the mix and then it'll be fine. Will it be weekly? No, it's currently, the schedule for things is a little bit spotty at the moment, because firstly it depends when I get work in, what other work I have on, whether the other work is something I can do in public, because quite often the work I do is under NDA, which means that I can't do streams. When I can, I do. Also, I'm moving house in a few weeks. That's going to make things a little difficult for a little while, but I'm hoping to make this a more regular thing if I end up with more regular mix work coming in, because that's the other thing about musicians. It's so irregular that hopefully it would be more regular. So going forward, we'll see. But yeah, let's focus on the mix for now. So chorus vocal, first thing I'm going to do to this is just solo, just main vocal, which I know, naughty, but stop it. There we go, solo main vocal. And I'm going to send loads of this to the plate reverb.
Call my name.
Not that much, whoa.
Call my name as the fire burns.
And the next thing, yeah, if you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell icon thingy. It'll tell you when we go live, and it'll tell you when we plan to go live. This was also a little bit last minute, this stream, that I wasn't sure whether I'd have the multi-tracks for this today or next week. And yeah. Dave says, no, that was fine. Yes. Very funny. So what I'm going to do is I'm using Slate's virtual mix rack, and I'm going to use a compressor called the Monster. It's one of my favorite compressors. On the main vocal, I'm going to smash it, absolutely kill it.
Call my name as the fire burns. The courage to never be the same. To accept my shame as the cold.
This is how it was before, which is nice and polite.
Call my name.
And this is it now.
Call my name as the fire burns.
Because the main chorus vocal, I want to be pinned to the middle. I want it to be right in your face. I want it to be stood on top of all the other vocals that are about to be added in, like it's stood on their shoulders and is just glorious. Without the others, it needs some EQ work, but here we go.
They call my name as the fire burns. The courage to never be the same. To accept my shame as the cold winds churn. Blessed with the power the arcane.
Ooh. So let's put the EQ and everything on this before that compressor, because there's a couple of kind of honky bits that I want to iron out, which then the compressor will just fix. So I'm going to gate it a little.
They call my name as the fire burns. The courage to never be the same. To accept my shame as the cold winds churn. Blessed with the power the arcane. They call my name as the fire burns. The courage to never be the same. To accept my shame as the cold winds churn. Blessed with the power the arcane. They call my name as the fire burns. The courage to never be the same.
So yeah, I don't mind the verse as well being a little more dynamic, but the chorus has to be excited. The chorus has to be right there. The chorus has to be, whoa. So vocal number one is that one that's quite full in the mids. It's pinned with a compressor. So this second one's got micro shift and nothing else right now.
They call my name as the fire burns.
So this is another one. These all need all that low mid honky honk taking out.
They call my name as the fire burns. The courage to never be the same. To accept my shame. To accept my shame as the cold wind. To accept my shame as the cold winds churn. Blessed with the power.
Right, let's try this underneath the main vocal.
They call my name as the fire burns. The courage to never be the same.
Needs fast attack compression, you say? Ha! Not this time. Because that was what I did with the main vocal. The main vocal is pinned and the compression on the monster is so fast it's sickening. We're talking microseconds. So I'm actually making the second vocal a little more dynamic, letting it breathe a little bit underneath, because that in the stereo spread will let it have a bit more 3D. So let's play this.
Call my name as the fire burns. The courage to never be the same.
Now, I'm going to use a slightly more modern technique when I'm done with this. I know and I appreciate that this is a little bit forceful, a little bit in your face, a little bit too much in the high mids. I might EQ it, I might use soothe. Let's just get some more of these in.
They call my name as the fire burns. The courage to never be the same. To accept my shame as the cold winds churn. Blessed with the power.
That's actually really nice. So all I'm going to do is add the 9000 desk in there on each one. Take out the ultra lows and the mud. That 400 hertzy thing a bit. And also put some range of expansion on here so the breaths and stuff get a little bit tamed, but not crazily. I don't need any compression. Oh, sod it, I need zero. I need unity compression just to catch any rogue elements. And let's see how these behave now. Save.
They call my name as the fire burns. The courage to never be the same. To accept my shame as the cold winds churn. Blessed with the power. Yeah.
So that is really nice, but it's got this big power note thing. I'm going to use Soothe by Oak Sound to use the almost cheating.
They call my name as the fire burns. The courage to never be the same. To accept my shame as the cold winds churn. Blessed with the power. They call my name.
Because what that's doing with this peak here is it's anything in these ranges that go above a certain level, it's just taming that part down. It's almost like a de-esser for every frequency, almost. It's very clever.
They call my name.
Let's try that in context and listen for that awful peak going away.
They call my name as the fire burns. The courage to never be the same. To accept my shame as the cold winds churn. Blessed with the power. Inside, I resurrect my compassion. My compassion. Light burns blue, surrounding shade.
I'm actually going to put the same thing on the verse vocal because there are a couple of peaks in there that I could spend all day finding. And yeah, infinitely variable dynamic EQ, bingo. I could spend all day finding these and either automating peaks out or using other methods. This saves me a lot of time.
Even inside, I contemplate my silence. My silence. Light burns blue, surrounding shade. The fueling shout that cannot escape. The storm chasing the reveals of hell. I saw decay, I cannot turn away. Call my name as the fire burns. accept my shame as the cold winds turn. Blessed with the power the arcane. Inside, they resurrect my compassion. My compassion. Light burns blue, surrounding shape. Feeling shots I cannot escape. Skin chasing to reveal the hell. Saw decay, I cannot turn away. I cannot walk away. In the storm fires I rage. To never hide again. I will become everything. Come.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to finish this mix tonight because my ears are starting to fry a little, but I can hear like these middle eight vocals again with the low mids, but fixable, completely fixable.
I cannot walk away.
So let's start with the good old 9000 on this, and on just do these as a group because they are kind of a group part.
I cannot walk away. 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 I cannot walk away.
Right, so I've got that needs lots of reverb.
I cannot walk away. In the storm fires I rage. In the storm fires I reign. To never hide again. I will become the everything. The everything. The everything. The everything. The everything.
Right. That's probably going to need some volume automation to become, well.
I cannot walk away. In the storm fires I reign. To never hide again. I cannot walk away. In the storm fires I reign. To never hide again. I will become everything. I cannot walk away. In the storm fires I reign. To never hide again. I will become the everything. Call my name as a
Cool. So I've got a cool idea for doing a proper like garble vocal. You can't see that behind my head, but I've just made a new track called Garble Vocal. Garble, garble, garble. And I'm going to have a copy of Unfiltered Audio's Bass Mint on there. And I'm just going to solo these for a minute and send them to the Garble Vocal.
will become. I will become the everything. 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 I will become the everything.
Not what I had in mind. There must be some sort of pitch shifter I have. Altar Boy. Altar Boy should do it. Little Altar Boy.
I will become
the everything.
There.
I will become the everything. I will become the everything.
There we go. That, underneath the main vocal.
I will become the everything.
Yeah.
I will become the everything.
Yeah. And then I'm just going to automate that only to come on. Garble vocal, send mute. Just for that little bit. So it's...
I cannot walk away in the storm as I ride to never hide again. I will become the everything. Call my name as the sunfire burns. The courage to never be the same. To accept my shame as the cold winds churn. Blessed with the power of the arcane. The arcane.
Right, so this lot is a special effects group. So this can be treated as a group, which is helpful. There are two harmonies here that are monoized. They will no longer be monoized because there's enough in the mono.
The arcane.
So I want this to be caked in delay, reverbs, everything I've got.
The arcane.
And also massively scooped out in the lows, like the other stuff, but even more.
The arcane. The arcane.
It's a lot of messiness on the end of these, which can be cleaned right up.
The arcane. The arcane. As the cold winds churn, as the sunfire burns, this is my power. The arcane.
Nice. So yeah, I would very much like to change the guitar tones to something from Rev, especially this verse guitar.
My silence, my silence. I saw the decay.
Yeah, there's something not right about that tone. I could work with it, but if I can use something that just works and we're going, yes, yes, then why not? Let's listen to what we have, and then I think I'm going to call it a night. This is not the finished mix, not by any stretch of the imagination, but from where we were at the start of the stream, just listen to... Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I think from here, a lot would be finish getting each piece of the puzzle in right together, listen to it on a different system, take a break, automate. And then, yeah, automate and automate and automate again to make cool bits stand out, make things that are getting in the way, get out of the way, etc., etc. That's how we finish a a mix. Yeah. Right, let's have a listen. Not bad for the end of session 1, I think. So yeah, like I say, there's, especially at the end, there's a bit of a build-up where it all sounds a bit too much. There are bits where like certain things aren't poking out, etc. That's all automation work. And just listening to it out of context, I can hear that the toms don't whack right now, so I can think of a way to make the toms whack. I've got things like transient designers and other clever things to make them go quack, quack. So Jack asked, did I record this? No, I did not. This is a remote mixing job. 3 hours ago, I had only heard the multitracks once. And so now, 3 hours later, we have that. Yeah. And so, yeah, like Ace was saying, actually, I got a YouTube comment that popped up on my phone as we were doing this video, which was someone saying, oh, less of the talking. It's like, there are channels that do that, and that's fine. What I do is the everything. So you see the process, you see how it takes a while. It can be the kind of thing you'd put on in the background and watch because it's a 3-hour thing. So yeah, and I'll quickly go through the delays and reverbs, which actually I'll put a lot of blank tracks at the end just to bump them up so you can see them. There we go. And this will be the end of the stream, and I'll pick this up probably next week when hopefully I get the DIs off the artist. Yeah, it sounds awesome. You are welcome. Very welcome. And like I was saying, this isn't even finished, and then this is not mastered either. This is literally just going to be when this is finished, this will be 80% of the sound. That's the way that I work. And yeah, so the reverbs and delays, I have a very short room reverb, which helps add space to certain things, which is Verb Suite Classics Bricasti Room 1. I have a plate reverb, which is lustrous plates, which is on things like the strings and the vocals and clean guitars to give them a shine. There is what we call the snare verb, which is Chris Lord Alge's reverb, which is from Verb Suite Classics again. And then the delay that I've used is an Echo Boy ping pong. And in this song, I've used the Memory Man in kind of ping pong stereo. So there you go. That's those. And that is where we're going to leave it today, folks, because that took a lot of brain effort and my head is now fried, and I'm up tomorrow because I am going to see John Brown tomorrow. We're going to be live at 6 p.m. UK time on his channel, and we're going to be looking at the video that we did for the Overload competition. So yeah, breaking down how he played that and some of how we got to his mix, because I kind of helped him put his new mix template together. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. And then we're live on riffhard.com on Sunday announcing the winners of the King of the Riff. So yeah, stick around. I will try my best to put as much notice as I can on the YouTube channel for the next part of this mix series, because hopefully this will become a series if I end up doing the rest of the album. But don't hold me to that. We don't know yet. That's entirely on the artist. So we'll see. But yeah, I think I'm going to like working on this. Thank you very much, everybody. And there's a video coming out tomorrow on the Austrian Audio headphones someone asked about. And there's so much more coming soon. It's going to be amazing. Thanks, everybody. And I'll see you later. Cheers.
Hey everyone, that might be the end of the video, but if you fancy carrying on this conversation, we have a Discord server, link is in the description. We're also on Patreon, which is something you can really help us with. We also are on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Hop Hole Studios. See you there.